ready for another lesson?
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Back Row Banter, your favorite casual movie talk podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Adam Schwartz, and on today's episode, in the news, we have a potential F1 movie or some kind of racing movie confirmed. We'll get to that. Trailer talk this week, we do have a first look at the Spider-Verse sequel, one of two sequels that we'll be getting. We'll talk about that in trailer talk. The new streaming list this week is long because it's going to be covering the last 2 weeks since we did not release an episode last week, and it's the first week of the month. So solid list, lots of genre variety on this one. We'll get to what we're watching, of course, and then our main review for the episode, King Richard. But before we get to any of that, I'm joined today, of course, by the one-y winner, Nathaniel Gingrich.
The what? The what-y winner?
The one-y winner.
The one-y.
You know what a one-y is?
No, I don't know what the one-y is.
It's a tennis slang term for one-handed backhand.
Ah, well, there we go. I will be the one-y winner. Thank you very much.
The one-y winner.
Duh.
One-y winner, a very impressive shot that I still don't know how it happens, but Roger Federer is the king of the one-y winner.
Wait, so you said it's a one-handed backhand. I think I actually could be decent at that. That feels like a very like.
It is harder than you think.
I feel like, but that's like a very like baseball like left-handed swing motion with
Sure.
like the power hand, bottom right hand dominant, kind of like swinging it through kind of thing. I think I could work on that.
Okay.
I think I could get it.
We'll get on the court soon.
All right. There's a court in front of our apartment, in front of HQ here.
I see it every time.
There is, yeah. I forgot
I
about
see it every time.
All right. Sometimes when it's not
We'll
negative
go out there.
Terrible
50.
condition. Is it really? Oh my god, that's horrendous.
As we learn in the movie, that just makes you better. So we're fine.
True.
Okay. Yeah, we're destined to be stars now. Also joining us today, it's the kick serve killer, Tyler Vidalis.
Yeah, I'll kick serve the shit out of that ball.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, I'm a one-y winner at back.
I really hit my stride with these names this week.
I think so. You're getting
tennis
better.
terms right up the alley.
Yeah,
I had
it's
fun.
certainly
I had
your
fun
bag.
thinking of them. Kick serve, always a fun serve for me. That was my go-to second serve. So with the kick serve, it you hit the ball. I don't know how to explain this well. When I was coaching, when I was like towards the end of my high school years, coaching like the middle schoolers at the summer camp or like the lower level, JV players or the girls tennis players. When you're serving and you step up the line, imagine you have a clock above your head that is in line with like the baseline. If you normally toss for a normal serve, you'll toss the ball at like 12 o'clock, just straight up.
Right.
With a kick serve, you kind of want to toss the ball a little bit behind your head at about 10 o'clock. And what that's going to do is going to cause you to push up against the back of the ball, gives you a lot of topspin. And so when the ball bounces, it's going to take a weird hop that it's not going to be a straight bounce. It's going to take a weird hop that can sometimes be hard to track, and it's also going to jump up higher. So if you have a good kick serve, and I've faced, my fair share, it can bounce and go above your head. And it is very hard to return. It's a pretty solid or pretty common go-to second serve for a lot of people because you hit the ball as hard, but you put more spin on it, which is kind of what you want to do on a second serve. Just kind of make sure you don't double fault. You kind of get it in there, and it's still, you don't have to hit it quite as hard and risk having a fault there. But by adding that spin on there, you can not worry about having a killer return because it's still difficult to hit. And some people have good enough kick serves where that's their first serve, and obviously when you get to the pro levels, every serve is going to have some kind of spin on it for the most part. So
right.
Kick serves are fun.
So you don't actually kick the
serve,
ball, though.
but not to return. What'd you say?
You don't actually kick the ball.
No, it is. It isn't.
So it's
there's
not
no.
kickball.
There's no feet.
Like anime style.
Yeah. You don't like jump and spin into it or something. It's not a wheel
bicycle
kick.
The tennis ball at your opponent as it sets on fire.
Do you think that's possible? Obviously not to set it on fire. But
Yeah,
to bicycle kick the tennis ball.
Have you ever seen?
I don't know.
I'm
It's
not
gotta
sure
be
you
hard
can
as
do it.
fuck.
Yeah, it's got.
I feel like I've seen like a clip of someone playing like a sport where they kick it's like almost like a volleyball, but they're like doing like hip high like like kicks of like a ball back and forth over a net.
Oh
or
yeah, that's
like
a sport in like I think Thailand.
Yeah, something like that.
Volleyball, but only with your feet.
Yeah, that looked crazy.
Yeah,
That'd
I don't
be
know
kind
how
of
that is
similar,
is
though.
like logistically a thing. I don't think I could ever do that. But
I don't have the hip dexterity for that.
oh
like
my
you
God,
should
my
see
hips,
these
like,
guys. They
pop all the
yeah,
time.
they're like
It's
they're
weird.
almost like hurtling it. Like they're
Yeah.
their feet get up there. But anyways,
Are those usually bigger people?
nah, they're like skinny, wiry dudes.
Okay, yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. And rounding out the squadron, it's Big Backhand BlakeHolder.
Hey, I kind of figured I'd have this name this week, though, fellas.
Yeah, I was
not gonna
between
lie.
That'd be a good one.
backhand. I was between backhand and backspin, but I feel like backhand
Ooh,
is more of a
okay.
common tennis
Yeah.
term that people would know. Obviously, people know what backspin is, but not everyone knows how to apply it. You know, backhand, man, what a shot! It was kind of my in my tennis career, always my consistently good shot. I would go through waves where sometimes my forehand was more consistent and better than my backhand, and vice versa. But I always, you know, especially towards the my junior and senior year when I started to develop a little bit better.
Yeah.
I always felt safe going to the backhand, and my favorite shot in doubles because I had to play doubles mainly for all 4 years. I just wasn't good enough for singles. But my main shot in doubles is if the serve in the ad court, which is the left court, goes to my backhand, I'll rip it right down the line, either straight at the net person or right to the left of them, and it'll land in. I had one. This was in a pretty big tournament. I don't remember if it was like a conference tournament or something like that, or I think it was actually, you know what? I think it was just against a conference opponent. So one of the matches that like actually matters for the bigger tournaments later on, and man, I had just been doing the shot so much I knew exactly what I was doing with it, and I got to serve. This was later in the match, and I got to serve right to the backhand, and I'd done it a few times with this kid, and I hit it so hard but with so much topspin that it looked like the kid thought it was going to go out just because of how hard I hit it and how high it was. Usually you can kind of tell when a ball is going to go out and you don't want to hit it. And I knew immediately when I struck it and he got out of the way, I was like, oh, I just started walking back to I think that was when the game. So I started walking to the sideline because I knew that thing was landing. And sure enough, it lands about 3 inches within the line because of just how much topspin I'd got on it. He was so pissed.
Yeah.
Can you hit the ball directly at the other person in tennis?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Is that like a common thing? Just like drill it as hard as you can, like
Yes.
right at them?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, yes and no. Obviously, you don't. No one's. You shouldn't be going out to intentionally hurt someone, but it is definitely a strategy when you're playing doubles or your singles at the net to just hit it right at a person, because either maybe they're unprepared or it's just harder to return. But like, I would do it pretty often where if I got a floater on a ball while I'm playing at the net, which I love doing, I would put it away. You got to aim. Basically, you aim for their feet. That's the hardest place to get the ball back. Is if you can put it at their feet, it's hard for them to get a return on it. So you got to aim right at their feet. And when you aim at a person, sometimes it doesn't always go where you plan. So you can definitely get hit by something or get hit by a ball. It's common courtesy in tennis, of course, is apologize. Sorry, my bad.
Sure. Right. You're not intentionally trying to do that.
And then you carry on. Obviously, it's a tennis ball. It's not like a baseball or something like that.
Right.
So it doesn't hurt that much. I've gotten hit by my fair share of tennis balls. So yeah, it's not that bad. But yeah, you can aim for people. But if it touches them or hits them, it's just your point. If they can't return it, it's your point.
Okay.
Yeah. So interesting fact that well, you know what? I'll bring this back up. I'm going to write this down. I'll bring this back up when we talk about the movie because it actually has to do with Serena Williams. So we'll stay tuned for that. Anyway, we'll get to that later. But first, we got to get to the news.
Tell us about the news.
In the news this week, Brad Pitt, Joseph Kosinski, and Lewis Hamilton racing project Revs Studios streamers into bidding war. This is an exclusive story from The Hollywood Reporter, but Brad Pitt and Joseph Kosinski, who is the director of this movie, who recently did Top Gun Maverick, are pairing up to... Sorry?
Oh, sorry. He did Oblivion and Tron, too.
Okay, did he? Okay, was not familiar. That's just the one that they cite here in the story, but both good movies as well. He will be on to direct, and Lewis Hamilton is set to star in some way or is involved in some way. It's not exactly clear what kind of role he'll play in the project, but I'm excited. I mean, if Lewis Hamilton is involved, it sounds like it could be some kind of F1 movie. But that's not necessarily a guarantee. They haven't really said. It's kind of just a racing project. And right now, it's all of these studios. You have Paramount, MGM, Sony, and Universal, as well as Netflix, Apple, Amazon, Disney, the other streamers that are in a pretty heated bidding war for the the production and rights of this movie, which is interesting. It means if we're seeing that kind of thing, maybe they have some kind of crazy idea for this. Maybe they've seen maybe the recent uptick in interest in F1 or following Ford versus Ferrari, which is pretty well received. That maybe they kind of see this as something to hop onto, as something audiences are interested in. I think this is if Lewis Hamilton's in this, and even if he's not, maybe he's just involved in some other way. I think Brad Pitt and having Joseph Kosinski, who's done these movies that has that kind of fast action pacing like a Top Gun, I think that's a great combo, honestly. I think that's a good person to have behind a project like this.
Yeah.
It's an interesting collection of talent.
For sure.
Yeah,
I would
I'm
love
not
to see
mad
Lewis
at it.
Hamilton act.
That I don't know if I want to see.
Yeah, do you think it
Really?
might be like a Rocky style thing where maybe he's like not like a main character, but maybe like an antagonist or like a real world like player in there or something like that? He is that world's Lewis Hamilton.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe it's just kind of
I
more
can
of
see
like a
that.
cameo kind of thing, and then he stays on involved.
Or
in
like
how
he's
he wants-
he's not playing himself. He's playing another racer or something like that. That's
Sure.
like that could be like his rival or something, or like the established F1 racer. If like you're
I
like
see.
following someone that's new to the sport or something like
see.
that.
he is the challenger that the main character has to overcome.
Right, like in Creed,
Yeah.
he fights someone who's like he's got a fake name, but he's a real boxer named Tony Bellew, who was actually a heavyweight champion or something like that. So like he's like that version or something like that. Maybe, I don't know.
Sure. Yeah, and I could definitely see that being the case.
I don't know. Brad Pitt's not starring in it though. It's his production company, right?
I believe that's what it is. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Mm.
It's not really confirmed here. Oh well, it says here in the story at least, the Untitled project has Brad Pitt attached to star.
Oh, okay.
So, who knows if that stays true? Later on in the story, they do
What if
talk
it's
about
Speed
how
Racer again?
that that Kosinski and Brad Pitt both had kind of an idea for a while about a racing movie, which eventually evolved into Ford versus Ferrari with a whole new director and actors and everything. And so maybe this is them kind of returning to the original idea that they had. At least that's kind of what it seems like.
Or it's Speed
Sure.
Racer again.
What's the last thing you guys have seen Brad Pitt in?
You know what? That's on my what we're watching this week. So
Okay.
to give you a bit of sizzle, but I watched Killing Them Softly with Papa Schwartz.
Okay.
I've never seen that.
You would like it a lot.
Okay. Fair enough.
It's on Netflix. I can talk about that more later.
What is the last thing you saw Brad Pitt in?
Are you talking? Well, I mean, if we're talking about new movies, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
I figured that'd be most
Yeah.
people's answer.
Has he been in anything else since then?
I don't know. Actually, maybe.
Is that after Deadpool 2? Because he has that cameo in Deadpool
Sure,
2
for-
of the
Yeah,
Invisible Guy.
that's after Deadpool 2. I don't know. If only we had a service that tells us
Wouldn't that
what
be
movies an actor has been in.
Wouldn't it be
And
nice?
What if it had 4 letters to the name?
ESPN?
Yeah, ESPN.com right now.
Oh, Ad Astra. I saw that. That was good.
Ed Astra, was that after Once Upon a Time in Hollywood?
Yes.
It was. Okay, here we go. And then Fast Times at Ridgemont High Table Read. I don't know. That says 2020, but that doesn't.
That feels like a one
that
of those
feels like a thing that got
pandemic-
released.
Yep.
Yeah, something like that. Ed Astra would be his last starring role, and then he's got Lost City of D in post production, Bullet Train in post production.
D stands for
and-
dragons.
Is that what it is?
I have no idea, but I hope so.
There's a lot of things that D could stand for. And then he's also got another movie called Babylon in post production. 3 projects ready to release,
She's
all
working
slated
hard.
for 2022. Yeah, gonna see some more Brad Pitt soon here. Ty, Nathaniel, any level of excitement based on your love for F1? Because I saw this and I was like, this is pretty hype.
I'm excited. It'll be like I said at the start, a cool collection of talent and people. So
yeah,
we'll see. Anything can be good, right?
Definitely.
It's got potential. It's got cars. It's got my interests.
My name's Tyler.
My name's Tyler. Signing off. We'll BRB. Cool. Well, then we can go ahead, move on to trailer talk for this week, as we got a new first look at Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse Part 1. So it's also been confirmed that this will be a kind of two-part sequel to the original Spider-Verse, and this being the first one. About a minute and a half teaser here. Not a ton here, just a scene between Miles and Gwen Stacy, and a little bit of a scissor reel towards the end. So,
but it's like this is how the movie ended, right? The end of the post-credit scene in Spider-Verse is pretty much this exact scene, but now they seem older. Like it looks like it's like almost like 2 years later or something like that.
Yeah, that's kind of the idea I got too here. Definitely some time has passed.
Some time has passed.
Does anybody know how old he was in the first one?
Well, he was a freshman, wasn't he?
I don't know.
15? I don't remember. I haven't seen that movie in a little bit.
Wasn't he just starting? Well, he's
I
starting
think he was just
puberty.
starting high school.
Doesn't he say like this is puberty or whatever?
Yeah. I
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah.
Maybe he is like starting high school.
Or is it
It's
middle
like a
school?
private.
He's
It's like a
14 or
private high
15.
school. Yeah.
Yeah, because the whole thing at the beginning is he's going to a new high school or whatever that he doesn't like.
Well, the only reason I ask because he says he's grounded. I'm like, you're a superhero.
Yeah, you're a superhero. And then she goes, yeah, but that's exactly her response is
Yeah.
Spider-Man grounded, which I thought was good. Still looks great. This animation style. You kind of forget about how good Spider-Verse was. It's very easy to kind of just have that slip. And it's still well regarded, obviously, but it's nice to see that again, and it makes me excited to see both these sequels come out because that movie looks incredible. It really, really does. And I'm glad that it got the recognition for that because I believe it won Best Animated Picture that year.
Yeah, what is that?
2018 or 2019? Yeah. Which I think it definitely deserved just because that was so fresh and unique, that kind of animation
that
style, the comic book style. Yeah, that was a breath of fresh air just for animation in general because
for sure
there are only kind of so many things you can do with it, and at least that's what I felt before I saw something like this, where you can kind of get really, really inventive with it and mix kind of a regular animation style with that comic book kind of feel to it. Really, really excited.
Is there any part of you that worries that there might be a little bit of a sophomore slump, or you like how we kind of didn't have too high of expectations for original Into Spider-Verse, and maybe that played into a little bit of why we liked it so much?
I definitely
I would probably challenge to say not really.
Okay.
I think it'll still hold up to be pretty good. I mean, they've got a really big fan base now. I think the drawback to me though is just going to be like, I feel like I'm just being like oversaturated of Spider-Man shit.
Sure,
you know what I mean? We're like, it's like, Jesus, can we just relax
this
1 minute?
Yeah, but this won't be out until October 7th of 2022.
I think we're just in Spider-Man season right now a little bit too.
Yeah, it's crazy, bro. It's rolling.
Yeah.
So
I can definitely understand that though. And like we've talked about before, the superhero fatigue is starting to catch up.
Right. And I feel like now it's coming back again. But with that being said, I do think this will be a good movie. I think it was probably what helped Sony's animation because they were pretty much on like a decline of people saying like, hey, like animated Sony sucks in movies. You know what I mean? Yeah. And this dropped and everyone was like, oh, this is really good. So it's good for the production.
Well, and the last thing they make is the friggin' Emoji Movie. Like, sorry, right. My expectations weren't at the all-time high.
For sure.
Yeah, but back to your original question, Nathaniel, I personally do think some of the initial reaction to Spider-Verse was just people not expecting to be that gorgeous and then
Or like
look
any
that
good at all. Yeah.
Yeah, or just like they had such low expectations for it that they just exceeded them so much. But to me, when I like look at that movie on a rewatch or objectively, like the story isn't like crazy special as far as like what the actual story is and everything that goes on. But that doesn't change the fact that I still really like the original and I'm very excited for the sequels. But I do think there could be some kind of almost whiplash from the fact that people aren't as new to it this time around, so that maybe they'll see the adverse effects of that as far as the reception goes.
All right, I'm with you.
I hear you.
Hope that's not the case, but I could see it potentially being there.
We'll have to see. We have a little bit of time. October, I think they said, of next year.
Yeah,
so
October 7th.
And I think the rumor is they are working on this back to back with the second one, so maybe like a year after for that too, or maybe hopefully sooner.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Love when those sequels are released fairly close to each other.
Yeah, well, I think was it Endgame, Infinity War, and Endgame were like 8 months apart or something.
No,
like
it was exactly like a year.
Was it?
It was May to like late April.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, sounds right.
A full year.
Okay.
Yeah, that was fun too. Ty, any thoughts here?
I am a big fan of the first one.
Yeah.
And you said it's easy to forget. I was shaking my head. It is not easy to forget how good that movie is.
That's fair.
Out of all the content that's out there, I think it's definitely one of the best for it.
I just don't think it's like been talked about like long lasting, like something like some of the
it's not something that like comes up in like conversation. Like,
not
you remember how good it
terribly
is?
often. I would say not as like often as something like maybe like an Endgame or Infinity War, but still often enough where it's more than the average superhero movie. So
I hold it as far as Spider-Man stuff goes in high regards, and so this is
I'd agree with you on that.
So
yeah,
sure.
Too.
So I'm excited for this one, and we'll see where it goes. And the reason I like it so much is because the animated stuff just opens your mind a little bit more to just it being okay with batshit crazy going any direction.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the reason why I think it meshes so well. Is you can it's more likely to see a Spideyverse in an animated version.
Sure. I definitely think the original Spider-Verse in some ways probably inspired a lot of the multiverse stuff that they're doing now.
Yeah.
At least to some extent. I think they saw how successful that could be. And then we're basically getting a live action Spider-Verse with No Way Home. So there's that.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah. All right, well, we'll have to wait just under a year for that one. Not terribly far out. We have No Way Home to hold us over in between now and then. But if you're looking for something to watch in between now and October 7th of next year, I have something you can watch for the next, however many weeks or months that these movies are on these streaming services. I started that segue not knowing where it was ending.
Sorry. Sometimes that happens. It happens to the best of us.
Sometimes it happens, but I found myself here at Adam Schwartz's completely subjective new to streaming list for the weeks of November 28th or through December 4th and December 5th through December 11th.
You guys seen Jumanji?
The original, yes.
The OG?
Yeah, the original.
Kevin Hart. Yeah, man, I grew up on that. That was like a daycare movie.
You know when Robin Williams gets released from the game for the first time, and he's got the big wild beard, and he's just like, "What year is it?" That's what I feel like the last 2 weeks have been to me, just constantly. And I now look at this list and realize it's really only been 2 weeks since we've recorded, and it feels so long.
Right.
But anyways, continue with your subjective list. I just wanted to bring that to everyone's attention and really focus on me there for a second before going to your subjective movie list. So continue, please.
Of course. Well, let's get her started here. It's a long list, so I will probably just be listing a lot of these off rather than stopping on them like we sometimes do. To Netflix, Final Destination 3, Final Destination 5, and The Final Destination.
Which is the fourth one.
What's interesting, Correct. I was about to say it's interesting because the Final Destination is in 2009, and then Final Destination 5 is 2011.
Yeah.
So.
Which actually, if you've seen those movies, will make sense at some point.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Fair enough. I haven't seen any of them, so I can't really speak to that.
Can recommend. Big fan of those.
Cool.
I co-sign.
Like they're
Coming
silly,
up, this
but they're
is-
fun. Sorry.
Knight Rider seasons 1 through 4 and Knight Rider 2000, the movie that comes along with it. I haven't seen those, but I know of Knight Rider.
You haven't heard good things about Knight Rider. Don't even start that sentence.
But, yeah, I don't know how good they are, but
It's garbage, but it's Knight Rider, so people should love it.
also coming Looper, Minority Report, Soul Surfer, Sucker Punch, The Legend of Zorro, The Power of the Dog. This is one of the main reasons I included this because the description ended with the movie is hotly tipped for plenty of Oscars next year. It's directed by Jane Campion. This star-studded film is set on a ranch following Phil Burbank, who believes he'll never fall in love. So, take that for what you will. I don't know how accurate that Oscar buzz is, but maybe you want to watch it,
Dances
find
with
out for
Wolves.
us, and let us know. Also coming is Tremors, We Were Soldiers, and Tiger King, the Doc Antle story. This is kind of like a spin-off doc looking at the character of Doc Antle. I don't know who cares about Tiger King anymore. I've actually heard that the second season isn't terrible, but I'm not watching it.
Yeah,
So,
I feel like
I just have no interest anymore.
we had our
so-
moment with the Tiger King, and
Yeah, it was a moment in time. It landed. It couldn't have landed at a better time when everyone was,
Truth.
set to stay at home for months on end. So, and then last thing coming to Netflix is The Unforgivable. This is a new Netflix original featuring Sandra Bullock, who plays a woman released from prison after serving a violent crime sentence, but finds society unable to forgive her past actions. So, sequel to Bird Box?
could be.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. But that was a moment in time as well.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Bird
really.
Box
I haven't
was
thought about
really
that movie in a long
Jeez.
time.
Yeah, right.
a decent movie. Didn't need
It
to
was
have
fine.
the craziness it is. But then now
That
with,
movie just took over the internet, though. Dude.
but yeah, that was kind of like the first time of Netflix flexing those marketing muscles, I think, in some ways. Now they're I feel like people are kind of seeing through it, like that whole Red Notice thing where it's the most watched, consumed piece of media ever or whatever. We've watched 5 million hours of Red Notice, and it's no, you haven't. It's all bullshit. So
Yeah.
yeah.
All right. Well, that's it for Netflix. Amazon Prime is getting Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter. Sorry. Chef,
Yeah.
Ender's Game, Galaxy Quest, Halloween 2, and Halloween 3, Season of the Witch. Are those ones good?
Halloween 2 is worth a watch.
Yeah, Halloween 3 is the one that's not connected to anything.
Yeah,
Okay.
that one's kind of weird,
Okay.
but 2's cool.
John Tucker Must Die.
Best
Little Miss-
fucking chick flick movie of all
I knew
time.
I had to put it on there for
It's not
Blake.
bad, man. It's
love
definitely
that
definitely
movie.
up there. Yeah.
Is that the one that you always bring up when we talk about chick flicks?
Yep.
I think
Blake
that,
does,
yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think if we
Yeah,
think
yeah.
of any other Blake, we think of any other chick flick, Blake tries to think that it is John Tucker
Yeah.
Must Die. He'll slowly try and turn any other movie into John Tucker Must Die.
But I think Adam may get a kick out of that because you watch You, and the main character in You is in John Tucker Must Die.
Is
He's
he?
the main
Okay.
character's brother. So
Okay.
when I first watched You season 1, and when I got kind of halfway through season 2, that's how I was attracted to the show, was through him. I was like, oh, I remember this
Okay.
guy. So
Noted.
looks the
Noted.
exact same too, oddly enough, and
Really?
it's 15 years later.
That
Yeah.
dude don't age.
Yeah, for sure.
Also coming to Amazon Prime. Little Women. This is the original one, 1994, not the new one from 2019, whatever that was. Nacho Libre, Pineapple Express, and the unrated version as well. Sleepless in Seattle, Soul Surfer as well. Taken, Talladega Nights, The Ballad of Ricky Bobby, The Hunt for Red October, The Prestige, The Usual Suspects, and Child's Play from 2019.
Boo.
Not good, huh?
No, man.
Maybe I'll take it off. Listeners, forget you heard that. I'm going to take it off the list. It's subjective. I can do that. Hulu, also getting Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter and Ace Ventura Pet Detective. 2 very different movies. Armageddon, Hustlers, I Love You, Beth Cooper, Ocean's 11, 12, and 13. She's Out of My League, Sherlock Holmes, and Sherlock Holmes, A Game of Shadows, The Princess Bride, and rounding out the list, World War Z.
Love that movie.
A Brad Pitt feature.
You're
Another I Love You, Beth Cooper, another chick flick, right?
Yeah, I actually don't mind that one. I think I bring that up on pod too every
That's
once in
the
a
other
while.
one you bring up.
Yeah.
It's
I wasn't
only
sure
full
which one it
name.
was. I wasn't sure which one. It turns out it's both.
It's that and Forgetting Sarah Marshall, and it's the trifecta of full named people.
For sure. All not bad though.
You sure? That's why they're on the subjective list, of course.
What we got for HBO Max?
Blade 2. We
Great
talked about
movie.
last week a
Blade
little
2.
bit, or-
Yeah.
all right,
Blade
last
2 is
week.
dope.
We got to work on getting at least one of those on here, to be honest.
True.
We can
Yeah.
we can talk about it. We can take a look at the schedule. We got
down.
room. Crazy Stupid Love, Mortal Kombat from '95, and the sequel Battle of the Realms.
That's what that movie was called?
No,
I
I
think
think
so.
that's the animated
Is that the
one.
new
Is that an animated one?
Yeah, I
Oh,
think
is
that's
it?
an animated dealio or something.
Mortal Kombat. What is it called? Battle of the Realms.
Does that have like Scorpion on the cover?
Oh. No, I think is that the title for the new one?
No way. Really?
Oh no, it's the animated one. I'm sorry.
Okay.
It says 2021, so I was just very, very confused for a hot second. Because the original one or the other one just came out too. So, but yeah, no, you're right. It is the animated one. So
Okay.
apologies for the confusion on that one.
What if
listeners.
it's any good? Maybe.
Yeah, I feel like if there's any kind of, I feel like an anime or animated show is a good kind of transition from a video game to some kind of film or entertainment.
For sure.
If anything, I'll check it out and let you guys know. I'm probably the one most likely to be appealed by it.
Go get him, Blake. Godspeed, sir.
What else we got rolling on here?
Adam, you're muted.
I believe he's muted.
Yeah.
The old technology bugs got him.
Man, I accidentally pressed the mute button, my hotkey mute button.
Uh-huh.
What was the last thing you guys heard?
You should
about
talk
Mortal Kombat?
to us about No Country for Old Men.
Ah, yes.
Great
No
movie
Country for
too,
Old
by the
Men.
way.
Haven't seen it. It's one I've been like wanting to get around to for a while, but then I look at the runtime every time and I'm like,
Yeah,
I
it's long
don't
as
have
fuck.
time for that.
Excellent movie.
But I'll get around to it eventually. Percy Jackson, Sea of Monsters, 7, The Hobbit, An
Great movie,
Unexpected
too.
Journey, The Mask, The Truman Show, Triple X, and Space Jam: A New Legacy is returning for a long while on HBO Max.
Have you seen Seven, Adam?
I've not.
Ooh.
Again, another movie I want to get to.
Ty, you've seen that, right?
what is it?
Seven.
Oh
The
yeah,
one
yeah, yeah.
with-
Long
Weren't we
time
just
ago.
talking about Brad Pitt?
Yeah.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah. Definitely.
Disney
you should
Plus.
sit
That's
down and
an
watch
old
that
one.
Yeah, that's one I like. Yeah, it's on my watch list on Letterboxd.
We could
along with,
easily do
along
that
with
one
No
for
Country for
pod.
Old Men. What'd you say?
So we could easily do that one for pod. Like that would be
Oh,
also be
yeah.
one I would like request for my birthday, but yeah.
For
It's
sure.
all good.
We'll get there then.
Bit of sizzle.
To Disney Plus, Hawkeye episodes 3 and 4, and
Mm.
then I didn't know this was coming out until I saw on the list, Diary of a Wimpy Kid, which I'm familiar with. I don't know how much you guys are. That was like definitely my
Yeah, my
generation.
little brher read him.
I am familiar with it though. I
Yeah.
am.
That was
Yeah,
that
I'm
was
on the
that was
cusp of
right
that.
up. That was right up elementary school Adam
Mhm.
Schwartz's alley. Everyone was into those books, but it's not the live action ones that they made back in like 2012. It's an
Okay.
animated movie,
Huh.
which I think fits it a lot better. And so I don't think I'll watch it just because I have absolutely no interest in that book anymore, in that book series anymore. But interesting, kind of that they decided to just readapt it into an animated show. It's directed by Swinton Scott, who does Futurama, and written produced by Jeff Kinney, who writes the original one. So you have that coming to Disney Plus. I don't know how many of our listeners would be interested in that, but it's out there. Also coming to Disney Plus, Million Dollar Arm, Edward Scissorhands, Ice Age, Continental Drift, and then
I love those movies, by the way.
The
Ice Age movies.
I think we've talked about
Yeah.
that like once. We tried to figure out what order they came out in, and how many there were.
Sounds right.
I haven't seen any of them in a long, long time though. I can't remember the last time I watched an Ice Age movie. It's been a while.
Yeah. Sid the Sloth.
The Sloth. Last thing coming to Disney Plus is a series, or I think it's a series called Welcome to Earth, which is basically, it seems like Will Smith exploring different
You've never seen
places of Earth.
Independence Day, have you?
The original one?
Yeah, have you?
I have, but like not since I was like a kid.
Yeah, that's what he does when he punches the alien. He goes, "Welcome to Earth." So I think it's
welcome to Earth.
Yeah, I think it's like a spin-off of that, basically.
Is it?
Yeah, kind of like how
sure.
Jeff Goldblum does the Jeff Goldblum Explains It All or something. Like this is his
Gotcha.
His little Disney movie.
Cool. And then actually I lied. That wasn't the last thing coming to Disney Plus. Tron Legacy is also coming too.
Great movie.
Nice.
Love Tron Legacy.
Of course. Yeah. Which of course rounds out our subjective list, and we can move on into what we're watching, which I'm gonna ask one BlakeHolder to start us off with.
Cool, man. All right, I'll go ahead and fill in what we got. Let me get my Letterboxd up because I log everything. Right. So this is what I've got to. So I'll kick it off. For starters, I ended up watching the first 3 Resident Evil movies because I planned on watching the new one, Welcome to Raccoon City, but I did not get a chance to get over to the theater because that's one of those movies just got like weird times in the theater because it's like a really small showing where like it's like Tuesdays at like 2:00. You know what I mean? I just can't make that work. But I watched the first 3. So that's Resident Evil Apocalypse, and Resident Evil Extinction. Excuse me. There's, I think, 6 of these, to be honest. And they pretty much get progressively worse each time.
Is Extinction the one in Vegas, the desert one?
Yes, it is. That one's not that bad.
Yeah, I was gonna say, isn't that the good one? Like that's like low key might be like either the second best or the best one, sort of.
Yeah, I would say the best one is either the first one or Extinction.
Okay,
and then 2 was like, but nonetheless, I got to those 3. I went on like a deep dive on like Tubi, to find those. So super cool. The first one I genuinely enjoyed the first one, and then the second one it kind of gets a little too far-fetched from the video games, and then like the world building is just like really weird, and like there's things like don't make sense, like people would never reload guns and shit like that, but it's cool though. That's what makes Resident Evil games and those are all pretty much all directed by what's his name, is it Paul something Sandberg, Nathaniel?
Paul W.S. Anderson.
That's what it is, Paul W.S. Anderson. So I think he did pretty much all of them except the second one. I don't think he was on board for the second one.
It's either the second one or the third one. It might be Extinction.
Let me see.
But yeah, his wife's Mila Jovovich, so it's one of those ones where. And was it you that just watched Event Horizon? We were talking about him recently, or was that Tyler?
Okay. Correct. No, it was me. You're right, and he did that as well. So yeah, that was cool. Got to those 3. I genuinely enjoyed those. Adam, have you seen any of the Resident Evil movies?
Not a single one.
I figured.
They just haven't, to me, been worth going back to watch. It's like one of those things where it's like I gotta watch No Country for Old Men and Seven and all those things before I go back and watch them.
For sure. Movies, for sure. Definitely makes sense. I'm sure, Nathaniel, have you seen all of the Resident Evil movies?
I have. Blake, would you rather watch the Underworlds or the Resident Evils? Because I feel like you can pick one or the other and pretty much make it.
That's a great question. And I was actually going to hound on that when I asked Adam, has he seen these? And I was like, well, he hasn't even seen Underworld, so there's no way he's seen these.
Right.
I think the Underworld series is objectively better.
It's probably better, right? Probably.
At least like the first 2 are like pretty good movies, you know, where these are like, I mean, if you aren't really into like the cartoony video game type thing, you're probably not going to get a kick out of it.
Like at some point, Adam, you need to take like 2 weeks and you need to like drink a lot of Mountain Dew and like drink some shitty beer and like maybe just like strap in with like an Xbox 360 or like a remaster of like the Halo, like Halo 2 or Halo 3 and like the first Gears of War game. And then I'm going to need you to like just binge watch all 5 or 6 Resident Evils, Ultraviolet, Aeon Flux, and then maybe also
you're going deep into Vault. He probably doesn't even know what those are.
And then those last two, I had no idea.
Maybe Equilibrium with Christian Bale, and then the Underworlds, and then
I forgot about those.
And then you will experience what it was to be like an 04 to like 06 teenager.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll play some Halo while watching those movies. I'll
perfect. That'd probably be a good, most effective use of your time there, to be honest with you, and pretty realistic.
I'll start looking for like Doritos that have like the Halo 3, promo.
Or if they could be the 3D Doritos.
Peppers.
If you could maybe find like one of those on eBay, like the cans of the 3D Doritos, or
sure.
Yeah. So yeah, that's funny. I mean, all jokes aside, though, I think the Underworld series is certainly better than this.
Okay.
But I mean, hey, pretty cool. I do like them. They're very. You just turn your brain off while watching.
Right.
Like, there's continuity errors. The shit doesn't make sense. People don't reload. Some people have superpowers in one scenes. They don't have it in other scenes. It's just really goofy, but it works.
There's always one cool scene in each one.
Yeah. I kind of have to remember them by like one specific scene
or one monster.
Yeah, very true. And so yeah, not bad. CGI is iffy, but that's what the early 2000s was like. So can't complain. I would say the first one is one of the better video game adaptations. I would at least say that much. First one's pretty cool. Outside of that, while I was on Tubi, I saw another shitty horror movie that I put on my list and went back to watch it the next day, and that was Pulse from 2006.
Oh,
and
man,
I'm sure Nathaniel knows what that is. Tyler, have you seen Pulse?
I have not.
Really? Okay, yeah. I thought Ty might have an idea.
At least
I'm
not
sure Adam has no idea.
At least not just based off the name.
Bro, yeah, there were so many of those ones that came out around that time that all had one-word titles and were all in some way a ghost coming through something electronic.
Right.
With Christian Bale.
With Christian Bale.
This is like so this came out in 06.
Okay.
So this was like that time where like they just pretty much remade any Japanese horror movie just for America.
Yep.
And I forgot the name of the Japanese one. Is it called Pulse as well?
It probably is. I don't know. Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, I mean, it's pretty much like haunted technology type thing. This movie's bad, but I saw it and I was like, oh my God, that's something that I haven't even seen in so long.
Right.
I was like, I have to click it.
Yeah, that was such
it doesn't look good.
It's not at all.
It was such a weird time. Everything had that really washed out gray look. And like
it had like that blue filter over, kind of like the Ring.
Yeah, it was the Ring. Yeah,
that was cool to see that.
It was the Ring that started all of it, and then it was the Paranormal Activity effect, in which like everyone just like followed on behind it too, like immediately afterwards. And so you're right. Everything had that weird blue tint to it, and then like the ghost would be like that weird sped up version thing where they'd be like on one side of the room, and then they'd be like right in front of you and something, and then that's kind of really where the era of the jump scare I felt like got started too,
for sure,
in some ways. But yeah, those were fun, and they were all like PG-13 because they were designed for teenagers to come and see them on like the weekends or something like that.
Absolutely, dude. So end up getting to that, and that had Christian Bale, as we kind of keep referencing. But really bad. Octavia Spencer is in that as well. So just kind of like really goofy cast. Another person was in there I was familiar with. They have Christina Milian is in there. I've seen her in kind of some more films as well. So just an interesting cast that I noticed it. And then it certainly just brings you back to that time period with that blue-green tint filter on it. Or if you've seen like The Ring, The Grudge, like that type of, that shit's going on. So very bad movie though. Wouldn't recommend it. And those were kind of the 4 I got to. Outside of that, a lot of YouTube. Been going on a deep dive on like Eagles lately on YouTube. Okay. I don't know. But yeah.
Philadelphia Eagles or like Eagles?
No, like the Birds of Prey Eagles.
Gotcha.
They're so big.
Philadelphia Eagles aren't bad though, by the way.
I was also thinking about the band, and I was like, you don't strike me as an Eagles fan.
Hotel California.
Yeah, I don't even know if I know that band. I'd probably have to look to
You
see
do.
if they have a song.
You
If I
probably
heard a
do.
song,
You
I'd
would,
probably
yeah,
know
you
it.
for sure heard a song.
But yeah, that was kind of the gist of mine. So maybe I'll have some Eagle facts here in the next few episodes.
You ever seen an eagle?
I have seen
Yeah.
a bald eagle in northern Minnesota in college, and it was fucking huge.
They're so big.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fucking awesome.
Yeah,
That is
really
big.
cool though. It's definitely one of those things where like once you realize what it is, like you like stop, you're like, oh shit, that's an eagle.
And you'd
Like
be
you
like,
know, so it's
Yeah.
that shit
certainly
could
cool,
kill me.
but that's a big ass bird, man.
You're right. You're like, oh god, that's a dinosaur, man.
yeah. So, yeah, that's all I got. That I got to King Richard. Did that one on HBO Max. I did not go to theater to see it. Planned on doing a double feature with that and Resident Evil: Welcome to Raccoon City, but timing couldn't get them at the same show. So, I'll go ahead and pass it over to let's go to Ty.
Oh my god, I'm fucking honored that people actually even want to know what I'm watching.
It's a great feeling. Excuse me, I just yawned into the mic.
It is once again late this week, folks. Even though it is
Yeah.
no longer Power Week.
It's Power
It is
Week
not.
for me. It has been and will be Power Week until I
Truth.
get home.
True,
But
true.
it is late, so I'm gonna get into this.
Anyway, yeah, go ahead.
I got to a lot of stuff on YouTube this week. For whatever reason, I don't know why I haven't told you guys this yet, but Tim the Tat Man is on YouTube now instead of Twitch, so I watch YouTube so much more than I used to. So now my YouTube Premium account is coming in to more play, which I just absolutely love, and I'll probably never get rid of. Because I'll never watch an ad ever again on YouTube. I swear to God.
I stamp that for sure.
We did get into an F race this weekend. It was a doozy.
Wow. Yeah, let's unpack this really quick. What a race.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that happened.
I would love to talk about it, but I can't even remember everything that happened. Two red flags, what else? People running into each other
Cars.
Yeah.
constantly.
Racing. Zoom fast.
Lead changes, a bunch of discrepancies on who did what.
The
when.
score is tied going into the 9th.
The score is tied going to the last race of the season, which feels impossible
And
just
very
so
much.
unlikely.
and yet it's happening.
and yet it's happening. And
Who could have
like,
predicted?
I can't imagine how much pressure is on not the drivers but the teams for this last race, because if either of them have a do not finish for whatever reason, there's gonna be hell to pay, I bet.
Yeah.
It would just be devastating for it to go down
it
like
would be.
that.
It would be.
Versus
And I'm
somebody
nervous.
actually getting placement over the other one.
I know, and I'm nervous, but hopefully we have a good race and both of them finish them. So
They should just not. They should just not let any other drivers on the track. It should just be the two of them.
Dude, honestly, I mean,
Yeah, that's kinda what
that's
it's
what
like
happened. I mean,
anyways.
no, you say that, but actually, like, that's basically what happened this last race, where I'd say 75% of the race
true.
was just Verstappen and Hamilton being featured. The rest of it was like, at a certain point, they cut to the middle of the pack, and I was like, oh yeah, there's other people racing.
Yeah, there's like an Alfa Romeo finished 5th. What are we just not
Yeah.
addressing this?
and I would be upset if I wasn't like understanding of why they're just showing those front two, because that is the thing to watch right now, and I want to see that. So
And Sonoda probably would have finished higher up there too if he didn't fucking get hit.
Yeah.
So
Crazy race.
either way, it was good. We could talk about it all day.
Tyler, do you believe at the
but-
end of the day Max gets it done?
Yeah, he's my boy. I got to root for him at the end of the day.
Mm.
I'd really have to take a
Interesting.
look into like what both of their overall records are at Abu Dhabi, but at the end of the day, that's who I'm rooting for, and I think he actually has it to be able to do it. So
We'll see, man. It's gonna be a crazy race. I think
cars
I don't know what
have been right. He's been driving well. and I think
Yeah, I think
it's just a perfect storm.
I think if I had to bet on one, I think I would at this point bet on Max as well too. I think not because I think the Red Bull team just has had better things go their way, and maybe the more consistent on like the strategies this year.
Yeah.
Although, I mean, this last week the going on the medium tires instead of the hard tires for that after that second red flag kind of bit him in the ass towards the end a little bit.
Yeah, I don't know. I actually got like after the second flag, I got caught with a customer at work, and by the time I checked my phone again, the race was over.
After the second red flag, Verstappen went back out on medium tires, Hamilton on hard tires, and eventually Hamilton was able to pass him. That wasn't the only reason, but then even after Hamilton passed him, he was losing some velocity.
For sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you want to talk about it, let me know. I'll holler at anybody. But we'll see how next week goes. I'm very very excited, nervous, all of tons of emotions. So I also got to an old classic, some more Forged in Fire. We had a special guest this week at Mikasa. We had Kendall. Shout out Kendall. What's going on?
Hey.
We had Kendall stop by, and once Kendall was gonna stop by, I told Nathaniel, and Nathaniel was like, "Well, I want to stop by." So I was like, "Come on down."
So I did.
So we had a little viewing party at the house, and
little powwow.
Yeah, hung out and caught up, and it's always fun to see Kendall. And he actually turned me on to a new podcast, which has been hilarious as of late. It's the four guys from Workaholics. So if you enjoy Workaholics, it's called This Is Important. It's rather funny. So yeah, we got to a couple different things. We got to we restarted Drive to Survive because Kendall's also been kind of somewhat into cars and racing lately. So he's like, I'm in. So after the first two episodes, he was like, I have to go home and kind of watch through these. So I was like, good. I hope it, catches on because it is a phenomenal sport. Even if you don't like the sport at the end of the day, it is a really well done show. And you just can't say that that's not a fact. And we got to, so you know how Evangelion redid the show into like smaller portion movies?
The rebuilds?
Yes. So Initial D has done that as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and they've cut some stuff out. They've definitely done a lot on the animation side of things.
Mm-hmm. Is it a remaster or is it a complete rebuild, like redoing of it? Like, is it the same? Is it kind of like the same animation, just kind of up-resed and maybe edited a little bit?
No, they full redid the whole
fully
thing.
Redid it. Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
But they did a really good job. I'm very, very pleased with the aesthetic of it all. I still think I prefer the originals just because I really like that hand-drawn stuff, and it's really just something that I've grown up on and something that I hold near and dear to my heart. So I told Kendall if he wants to continue watching the show, he should actually watch the show and not the rebuilds. But overall, still really good, and I've thoroughly enjoyed those as we watched a couple of those. So, and then last but not least, Leah and I got to some Hawkeye.
I haven't watched it yet. I spent my last 2 weeks finishing 7 hours of the Beatles. So I'll get around to Hawkeye soon, though. How are you liking it, though? I haven't really heard much.
I think it's pretty good so far. I'll see how I feel, obviously, at the end. But overall, it's got a pretty good dynamic. I'm okay with the storyline plot for the most part. And yeah, it's not. It almost doesn't feel like it's oversaturating on the Marvel stuff, so that's got a big plus for it. But other than that, it's been pretty good
so far. How would you say that compares to the other Marvel TV shows?
I think it's a little easier to digest.
Okay,
I'm loving it. Yeah, I'm really enjoying Hawkeye. If I'm honest with you, I think it might be my second favorite out of the shows right now.
Loki was your favorite? Or WandaVision?
I really like WandaVision.
Yeah. I don't know. The more I think about WandaVision, the more I kind of like want to put it on a back burner.
I want to. Well, I take it back. I love the start of WandaVision.
Sure.
Yeah.
The first like 3 episodes, but I really enjoyed Hawkeye as well too. To be honest with you, I know exactly what you mean, Ty. It feels more like a Christmas, a fun action Christmas show than it does a Marvel show, which is really kind of refreshing.
Yeah, and I think it has a lot to do with the fact that he doesn't really have like any outrageous superpowers or super rich or super handsome and philanthropist and playboy and stuff like that. But I like it. It's been really great so far. So
agreed.
Other than that, I got nothing else. We can just let Nathaniel go because he watched some of the stuff that I watched, and we watched what we watched. So he watched. So what'd you watch?
Well, some of the stuff that I watched that we had watched, because I watched with you watch, was that Initial D, the original, or I guess the first bit of it is called Awakening, which is the first movie that we watched, which was the first, probably I'd say 5 or 6 episodes, or maybe 3 or 4, all condensed in kind of one. And it is really good. Tyler hit it on the head. I would still say I prefer the original version as well. But if you didn't really want to commit yourself to that, or you don't want to go in on the 90s effects, this is a pretty good rebuild, if you want to term it that. I also got to Get Back, which was the Beatles documentary, parts 1 through 3. I actually got to the whole thing. Didn't think I would, but I did. And it's pretty damn good, in my opinion. It's not going to be for everyone. It is 7 hours of content with a pretty loose structure rather than a storyline. But it is a very big, very interesting character study into the Beatles, and particularly this moment in time when they're writing and recording Let It Be. So I would recommend it. You can probably listen to the bigger portion that Adam and I recorded on it earlier. So he'll tell you more about that in a bit. Off of that, today, I watched the movie Yesterday, which, have any of you guys seen that?
That's the Beatles one that came out like 2 years ago.
Correct.
I haven't. I've been meaning to get to it. I really wanted to see it like in theaters, and I just never got around to that, and so I haven't seen it since it came on VOD. Yeah,
I bought it. It's $5 on Apple right now, so I think it's worth it. But it's directed by Danny Boyle, written by Richard Curtis, starring Lily James and Himish Patel, I want to say his name is. It's a really interesting, kind of funny story where a guy wakes up, or a guy gets hit by a bus, actually, and the whole world powers down for like a minute. And when he comes to, no one remembers the Beatles, including a couple other things as well. And he just happens to be a struggling musician. And so he kind of plays some of those songs from memory and starts to take credit for them, and it's the story of that. But it's really fun and kind of sweet. And I would say there's overall the movie's probably like a 6 and 7.5, but there's a certain part of it and a certain because of the fact that it's directed by Danny Boyle, there's certain things that he brings to the table and a certain skill level that I think elevates it up to maybe like a 7.5, 8 or somewhere in there. So worth a watch for sure. I got to Hawkeye as well, which I talked about earlier. Really enjoying that. Definitely gonna keep watching it. I actually am find myself going, man, I really hope I can't wait for the new Hawkeye episode. So that'll be fun. Watch Jungle Cruise as well. Perfectly fun movie. I think we've all kind of had that pretty similar reaction to it. It is basically Pirates of the Caribbean and The Mummy mixed. I'm now up to date on Succession. Pretty big kind of stuff happening in that series, I think, at the moment. So anyone who's watching, I need someone to talk about this series with. So if you're a listener who's watching it, please write into the email or tweet at us or something. I need someone to talk to me about Succession. So thanks. I also got to Cowboy Bebop, more of the live series or the live action series. I think it's kind of honestly getting unfairly hated on. So I'm enjoying it. I'll say it. I'm a Cowboy Bebop live action series enjoyer.
I was hanging out with some friends, and we watched like the first 20 minutes of it. I definitely get what you mean about that Dutch or canted angle.
Yeah, it's aggressive. And
it's aggressive.
And once you see it, you can't not see it.
Yeah. So to me, it looked like they just like felt like they had to do something to make it feel like it was an anime, and I just think they still could have done that without doing that so much. And if they want to do it often, that's fine. But it's like you're right. It's like it's almost every shot. It feels like
it's aggressive.
Yeah.
Continued on with Kill la Kill as well. That is still cool and pretty interesting. If you want to hear my further thoughts on that, see earlier episodes. And I finished Assassination Classroom as well. I don't know. I think that was actually the week prior, but I didn't remember to talk about it. That was an excellent series, and I really enjoyed it. So I would recommend that to most folks. And that is everything that I watched this week. 2 weeks, all the weeks. Is that it? Adam, you're left?
Yeah, I don't have a super long list because I got done with Power Week at the store, came back, looked at all the things I had to do for finals before I leave, and turns out the next 3 weeks are going to be Power Weeks. So last week was, this week is, and so will next week. So I haven't been getting around to much, and it's mainly been, when I do, it was mainly Get Back, which is obviously 7 hours, so that took me a little bit to get through. But watch that. If you want my full thoughts on it, go check out our little mini episode. Me and Nathaniel, before we recorded this episode, went and recorded about 30 or 40 minutes going in depth about Get Back. So if you've watched it or are interested in it, go ahead, check that out. That should be coming out at the same time this episode is, so it's probably live right now. But no, general thoughts. It was great. Loved it. Everything I wanted and more. I need the rest of that footage. I just want to watch the raw stuff, and I would probably watch it all if I had access to it. So, but yeah, it was great. Let's see what else here. Nathan, for you, chugging along with that, still great. Still having some really good bits on that one. Really liking that. Then, like as I mentioned earlier in the pod, watched Killing Them Softly with one Papa Schwartz while I was home for Thanksgiving. Solid one. Really, really liked it. Never seen it before. A lot of interesting commentary there that I didn't expect to be there. Because I think the movie released in 2011 or 2012, and there's a lot of themes of the 2008 financial crisis in there. And it was interesting. I didn't kind of expect that going into it, but it was kind of cool to see. So that's on, at least it was on Netflix. Should still be there currently. If you want to check that out, definitely recommend from me. That's basically all I got to. The other things are like throwaway things I put on the backgrounds, and we're running long on time. So we're just going to head into the review segment. So welcome, listeners, to our main review segment here at Back Row Banter. Nathaniel, if the listener here is new, or maybe they've just forgotten, because it's been 2 weeks since we released an episode. A lot can happen. A lot of things can be forgotten. But yeah, if that's the case for the listener, can you give them a rundown of how our review segment works?
Well, listener, if you are a new listener, or perhaps if you have just forgotten, the way the Back Row Banter review segment works is this. It is broken down into 2 sections, actually. There's the non-spoiler section, and then there's the spoiler section. It's pretty self-explanatory. In the non-spoiler section, we'll go over the movie itself, introduce its IMDb page, what year it came out, any big actors in it, anything like that. We'll go over the IMDb summary, then we'll probably go over our own summary, because the IMDb summaries are not that good. We'll go over our initial reactions, and any initial thoughts we have, and then go around, make a recommendation on the movie. It has to be a yes or no. There is no nuance on the internet. From then on is going to be the spoiler section. I'll play the spoiler noise, and we'll go spoiler time. Any big plot spoilers or deeper thoughts we'll have on the movie will be in this section, but do stick around and wait to come back until you hear the spoiler noise again, or Adam tells you about it in the show notes, because then we'll rank the movie on our Entropy list, which is our big list of everything we've watched for the podcast, ranked. I feel like that was like one breath that I did that in, but maybe it was more. But that felt good, actually. That might have been the smoothest one we've done of that in a while. Adam, tell me more about King Richard.
Of course, I'd be happy to. This is a new movie just released this year in 2021. PG-13 with a runtime of 2 hours and 24 minutes, which I saw before I started, and I was a little shocked that it was this long. Yeah, I was a little apprehensive about pressing play at that point, because I was like, wow, 2.5 hours, huh? Even I'm a tennis fan, and even I don't know if I need all of that. But, we press play. Here we are on the other side, and we're okay. Directed by Ronaldo Marcus Green. I don't know if it's just it's supposed to be Ronaldo, but there's an E and an I there. I don't know. Ronaldo Marcus Green. I really checked out his IMDb. He hasn't really done anything I'm familiar with, like, at all. He's got 14
I'm taking a look at it
credits.
now. It's not something I'm too familiar with either.
Yeah, so beats me how he got this kind of gig with Will Smith this quick. Maybe the stuff he directed is just insane. Who knows? I just haven't really heard of him or seen anything he's done. But now I have, and it's all right. So writer is Zach Balin. Same thing there. Haven't really seen anything that he's done. He only has 2 other writing credits. Actually, this is the first thing he's written according to IMDb. It's Creed 3. He got the screenplay for that.
Cool.
And Skull, which is a short that he has coming out. I guess it says it's announced.
Skull, is in like
it's called
Skull?
Skull. It's a short that's on his IMDb. Those are the only 2 things that he's got writing credits for. So once again, don't know how he got this gig, but again, I've seen him now. He did all right, so we're cruising. Starring, lead role, main star, Will Smith, of course, playing Richard Williams, the title character, joined by Anjanou Ellis. Some of these names are pretty hard to pronounce, so I'm going to do my best. Anjanou Ellis as Brandy, or Orsine, the mother of Venus and Serena. John Bernthal is here. He's been in Tenet, or not Tenet? He's been in Inception.
Right.
Is that the only feature on the Entropy list?
Yeah, we don't have Sicario.
He's got to
on there,
be
do
in
we?
one other thing, right? I find it hard to believe that's like the only thing he's in.
He's
Yeah,
not
we
in
have
Inception.
Sicario.
Is he not in Inception?
I do not believe so.
Or who am I thinking of then? If not him.
Tom Hardy?
Tom Hardy's in Inception.
I'm thinking of Tom Hardy. How did that happen? Yeah, you're 100% correct.
Oh no!
I don't know why. I just flipped him.
Who are you guys talking about?
We're talking
John
about
Bernthal.
Eli Roth.
No. Stop.
Yeah, I can't think of anything that
Wait, so
he kind of has
who-
a side character on.
Who?
John Bernthal.
Oh, bro, Walking Dead.
No, on the Entropy list.
I don't think he's on.
Oh, if he's
Is
not
he on-
anything else.
Record Tyler and listen.
I thought you guys were talking about
No, I was actually
What
there
else
with
he's
you
in?
for a second, Tyler, too. I came into that kind of like a little bit confused. But no, we're all on the same page. He's not on the Entropy list yet, I don't think.
All right. Well, he's here now.
First time listener.
And then also starring Sanaya Sidney and Demi Singleton as Venus and Serena, respectively. Those, I would say, are your main cast members. You have the coaches. You also have Tony Goldwyn is featured pretty predominantly in here as Paul Cohen. And then you have the sisters, Michaela Lashi Bartholomew and Danielle Lawson and Layla Crawford. I think I'm going to stop there. Those are your main cast members for sure. You don't see too much outside of there. The IMDb summary reads as follows. A look at how tennis superstars Venus and Serena Williams became who they are after the coaching from their father, Richard Williams. It's an summary, not necessarily bad, but barely okay. So yeah, I'll fill in the blanks here for you. It's essentially a coming of age kind of thing for Serena and Venus, how they their origin story, if you will, but it's focused and kind of from the perspective of Richard Williams, their father, who, as the movie kind of shows, was pretty intense about his vision for his daughter's future, and went about some interesting ways and had an interesting vision for how they were going to become the stars that they did. Yeah, I don't know if there's much more to add on to that. That's kind of the general gist there. Very interesting character and person, Richard Williams is. And that is not just Will Smith acting as an interesting person to make it an interesting character. I've seen interviews and everything with the actual Richard Williams. Very interesting person.
I was gonna say, is this as a tennis person? Is this like is he that much of a well-known figure, or is this more like a known biopic to you too, or something?
It was definitely an unknown, for the most part, an unknown biopic.
Gotcha.
For me, just because I love tennis, but was not even alive for most of this movie.
Fair enough.
For any of this, honestly, I don't even know. So I don't know how much of a spotlight he got when all the events of this movie were going down. But I do know like he's still kind of talked about at least a little bit, because I have heard of him and kind of what, a little bit of his eccentric personality like that. Just a tad. So I knew kind of when I first heard that they were focusing on their father, I was like a little shocked, but like I could understand what the story was there. That's how much like I knew about.
Sure.
About
Okay.
it. Yeah. And then definitely an interesting kind of thing to focus on, as far as when you look at the Williams sisters, then instead of focusing on either of them on their own, or trying to make a biopic on both of them or individually, to focus on their dad is not something I think a lot of people would expect.
I certainly did not expect it.
Yeah. But I think they do a good job here, and I think it kind of, when you see this movie, it makes sense as to why they did it this way. You can't really have their origin story. Their origin story is basically their father. That's kind of essentially.
Certainly makes that argument, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. And I'll get into that definitely in the spoilers. I did do not a ton of research, but did kind of look into like how actually accurate were the portrayals and the events in this movie. And I'll definitely get into spoilers.
Do they end up with an open stance is my main question, because we only talked about that 5,000 times.
I don't, off the top of my head, I don't know what their stances are. I'm pretty sure Serena's is closed now. I don't know if Venus's is still open. That bit,
that felt like something that's like not really that much of a tennis thing, but that they brought up again as like a storyline thing.
Having an open and close or a closed stance is definitely a tennis thing.
No, but I mean, like it'd be like one of those thing that's like not really that prominent in the community anymore.
Yeah, but no, definitely, it's not like the end all be all that he pretends it is.
Right.
I was gonna say, is it like that controversial?
No,
like
it's
in
not.
the tennis world, like, oh man, that guy plays with a fucking closed stance, piece of shit.
Yeah.
No, it's not nearly like that. It's more of just a technique kind of thing, and a comfort level thing for sure. So yeah, he made it a much bigger deal than he needed it to. Personally, when it comes down to this huge, open stance, closed stance debate, I prefer the closed stance. And
you
he talks about how, sorry. I started out pretty open, and sometimes I'll still hit it open if I'm not, working on my, don't have great footwork. But for the closed stance, he talked about how are they supposed to get back to the middle if you're hitting closed. It's simple. You follow through with the back foot, you push off, and you get back to the middle. To me, that was always easier than hitting open. Like getting back to the middle was easier in a closed stance than an open stance. So I was watching that a little confused, but that's just my perspective on things. I'm sure it was also a different kind of time in tennis as well.
It was a different time.
Things obviously evolve. Where were we here on this intro, this non-spoilers intro? Thoughts, guys? I've been the only one talking, and I
felt like I wanted
you guys might want to think.
But I wanted to give you time to breathe as the resident squadron tennis expert here.
I was watching this I am really excited to kind of share the insight that I can give to a movie like this, because I did notice a lot as far as the kind of details they add about the tennis and tennis communities, and especially at that age, that I felt were pretty accurate for the most part. And I'll get into that, and I would say more towards spoilers. But I was pleased with this movie for sure.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, I'll kick it off a little bit, I guess, too. I think oh boy, there went my Discord for a second. But what I was saying here, listeners, was that my initial thoughts on this movie was not super excited.
Okay.
Nathaniel, you got booted.
Yeah, I know. I was just kept on riffing here for the listeners and
but
kept us going.
Unfortunately, Blake was also talking at the same time.
Oh, well, that's interesting. Well, what the listeners were saying or hearing me say was, hold on, I'll bring us up here. Actually, Blake, you go ahead and talk now. What were your thoughts?
Yeah, and I'll say I caught it on HBO Max So I don't mind it. I think I do have a few gripes with the film, but I mean, overall, um, it's good. It's definitely. I would say this. I mean, with being a African American male, I mean, I think this movie does mean a lot to the Black community and to people in tennis as well, just because they have a father figure present. And a lot of people kind of coming from that community don't really have a supportive father figure, or at least that's not how it's portrayed, like in film and media, right? So that's super cool to kind of see that aspect of seeing like your parents like care about your passion and stuff, because that's how I was raised. So um it's really good to kind of see that representation opposed to just always like single parent families and things of that nature, as we began to see in like other like Black culture films that we've seen before. Um, the only thing I don't really like, I can't stand like Will Smith's like accent in this. I guess I don't know if accent's the word.
Like his lisp.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
can't stand it.
Can't confirm though. That is kind of how Richard Williams does sound.
Okay, sure. And maybe it's just because it's Will Smith doing it, and I don't like it.
Sure.
Right, and they could end up
That's fair
finding
enough
someone
as
else
well.
to do it. But overall, I mean, yeah, it's cool. I don't mind it.
Okay.
And
That's about what I expected. In fact, I maybe expected a little lower. So I'll take it. I'll take
Yeah,
it.
fair. What are you thinking, Nathaniel?
Yeah, I'll pick up where I left off, saying, which was basically I was more or less along lines with you. I was saying that I think out of the three of us, none of us were super jazzed to be kind of like going into this movie too much. I think this was the movie that we've gone into maybe with the least amount of expectations, or at least an idea of what it was going to be like. And I was pleasantly surprised with it. I actually thought Will Smith was pretty decent in this overall. I thought his accent was, it could be a little bit not irritating or anything like that, but like it's got that kind of, what Tyler was saying, that kind of lispiness that does, I think, get a little bit harsh depending on your speakers or whatever. But what I was saying was that I thought the performances were all really good. And for a movie that mostly features Will Smith and some younger actors, I thought he did a pretty admirable job of carrying it pretty well. And overall, pretty good. Really long, though.
Yeah.
Very long.
Tyler?
I was also pleasantly surprised. I think by the time we were done with everything, I really kind of wanted something different, but we can kind of go into that once we get into spoilers. But yeah, overall, I think Will did a pretty good job. I really like John's character. Sania obviously did a really great job as a young actress. I can definitely see her coming up through a lot of different things and being a pretty dominant presence in actresses kind of in the next coming years. But overall, I liked it. I think it was done pretty well. But yeah, I'm pleasantly surprised.
So were we recommends all around?
I think so.
Yeah. I could tell someone to watch it.
Cool.
I was a recommend.
Yeah. There's not a ton more to talk about as far as pre-spoilers go. So we'll just go ahead and jump into them. If you have not seen King Richard and do not want to spoil it for you, go ahead and check the episode description where I've left a timestamp you can jump to, where you'll be taken to our ranking of the movie up upon the Entropy list. That's where you guys usually say like up upon, so that was a little.
I whispered it there.
We've been whispering it.
Spoilers. Shit goes down.
Shit goes down.
Does it though? I'll tell you what. There's a freaking drive-by scene that really shook me up.
That was
that was very effective.
Right, so that's kind of one of the gripes I have with this film. So, it was interesting kind of seeing that, right? Then you see like the problems they have of like growing up in the hood and like South Central LA.
Yeah, which I did not know.
Right?
I did not know they were from there.
Oh, yeah, they were from Compton. Both.
Yeah, so I didn't know they were either, but then once the film started, I kind of realized, and you can obviously just know like the backgrounds people go through and stuff when they're from those type of neighborhoods.
Yeah.
But then so there's the scene where he kind of like confronts like some of the gangsters or whatever you want to call it, right? Local people from the hood at the tennis courts, yada yada. And then like he goes home, they fight, he gets a gun, and then there's a scene where it almost alludes that like he's gonna end up like trying to shoot the gentleman who like they end up getting into a fist fight before earlier. And then I was just thinking like, there's no way he's gonna kill this guy, because if that was even remotely a true story, that's something everybody would know, is that Venus and Serena Williams' dad was a fucking murderer, right? That's just like, there's no way you would not have known that story, no matter how much you follow tennis or not. So I was like, oh, I wonder like how they're gonna get out of this, because I don't think this guy's gonna fucking shoot him. And then sure enough, there's a random drive-by. So that was kind of like, I didn't really care for that. And that was like very like stereotypical to me, to kind of like see that confrontation and see the results. But I guess it's needed because it does show like the path you can go down growing up in that environment.
Yeah, right? I guess.
And I think that's what it's meant for.
I guess for me, it was like, because it was in a biopic and because of like the way that it happened, I almost assumed like it had to be a true story where he just like got super emotional, was going out there after this guy, and then he saw him get shot in a drive-by or something. But I guess you bring up a good point, which in that it could just be absolutely not real at all. At which point I would be like, feel like that's pretty ballsy.
I can answer that for you. That was part of the research I did, was because I was like, that was the main scene that I wanted to figure out. All right, did that actually go down?
Right.
So as far as like everything with Compton and all the violence that's kind of brought up in this movie, their dad did get beat up pretty bad at the courts.
For sure.
I could the gangs.
Certainly understand that.
That definitely happened. At one point, he brought a shotgun that was not his to the courts to kind of defend himself from them, which is not necessarily displayed in this. Obviously, it's like a pistol he gets from his job and everything. And then that kind of backed him off a little bit. And then one time he had an altercation with the gangs, and he went out driving around to look for them. And then as he couldn't find them, and then as he was driving back home, he saw a bunch of police cars and like drove by a crime scene basically, and he saw it was one of the gang members was already dead on the street.
Right.
That's what, from the articles that I read, that's kind of what that was based off of.
So it's an amalgam of a couple of different events, it sounds like.
Exactly. And so obviously I think dramatized for the purpose of it being a movie. But it's not too far off where I'm upset with them doing that.
Yeah. I hear you.
And then as far as I'm growing up in Compton, they are definitely from there. But one of the stories, or one of the articles I was reading, he was quoted saying like they had the means to live elsewhere, and he moved them to Compton so that they would grow up in adversity and become better like competitors. And
that's crazy as fuck.
Stuff. That's what the quote said.
Yeah.
Don't know.
I mean, I guess it worked out in hindsight.
In hindsight, sure. But
that's nuts.
I also read. What's the sister's name? Tundi, I think. Or it's Tundi. Ends up, she died because of street violence at some point in their lives.
Yeah.
So that's a price they paid, I guess.
I mean, I guess that could also like that first bit too. The like I moved them there for them to become adversity or face adversity and become better competitors. Also sounds like something that like someone who kind of enjoys having the legend of Richard Williams might say as well too, kind of thing of like, yes, it was all part of my plan. Like that just plays more into the kind of like what it seemed like the film was saying his personality was anyways. Yeah.
Definitely could be the case.
There's one thing I was gonna say too. But yeah, okay, that doesn't really shock me, I guess, overall, that some of those are kind of like the amalgam of a couple different events and stuff like that. Do you guys think John Bernthal was the right choice for Steve Macy? Is that his name? No. Steve Macy? Mr. Macy, whatever.
Rick
Macy. Because And I think it's just because it's John Berthel. He brings a weird sexual energy to it. I'm just gonna say it.
Yeah.
Like, there's a part of it. Yeah, like it's part of just the time too. But I feel like if it's at any other actor, it's not quite as weird because there was just a couple moments where I was like, "Ooh, is this gonna go in a weird direction that I'm really concerned about now?"
Yeah, right. But you're like, it probably won't.
I hope not, because it's like
I never got that vibe from him.
Really? Maybe.
Yeah, no, I think I actually really like John in this.
Yeah,
I think he probably did a pretty good job at like how quirky this kind of coach was back in the 90s.
Yes, I do agree with that.
And the only thing I think is after seeing like the
real coach
live picture, I was like, well, John's just a better looking guy than that guy.
Yeah.
Like they didn't get anyone anywhere. They need one of the Weasley twins for this guy or something. Like
I was like, other than that, I was like, this is fine. It's fine. He did a good job.
Yeah, I guess maybe I just always remember him from his character in like The Wolf of Wall Street or something like that. Maybe that's where I'm just
shirt off all the time.
from him. Yeah.
So yeah, I kind of see on that. I also kind of feel that way about Rick, I guess Richard, Will Smith's character. Where I like Will Smith, but it's like I just would have enjoyed to see like somebody else. Like I feel like Will Smith was like the easy casting for that guy.
Okay, you feel like
he's like he's the Hollywood they put in there.
Yeah,
and they could have got somebody that's maybe not as big time and
for sure.
Maybe could have gotten a little closer as far as casting.
Well, imagine they wait 20 years to make this and they put in Daniel Kaluuya. I think that would have been great. He needs to be a little bit older,
good job.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's kind of my only gripe about that one. I was like,
yeah.
Throw Denzel in here. Denzel's getting old.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Well, yeah, that was kind of the thing too. Is I'd never really had a good kind of estimate for his age. It felt like throughout, and then it almost felt like when they moved to Florida, it looked like he got younger.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
That's what they say. It's the moisture in the air, man.
Yeah.
As far as Will Smith goes, I think he's good in this movie. He's far from great, and I think this might be another concussion situation where he thinks he gets snubbed for all these awards and everything. I just don't think he's amazing in this or doesn't do anything like.
I agree, bro.
Super special to me.
He's like he's good. He's not great in this.
Yeah, he really is, and I think some people are playing this as like this could be like an Oscar contending performance, and I don't think so at all.
Nah.
This is Will Smith playing Richard Williams. This is not Will Smith becoming Richard Williams in any way. And maybe that's just something Will Smith can't get out of, just because Will Smith as a personality is you're always probably going to see. Yeah, you're always going to see that first, and I don't know how he ever breaks out of something like that, but that's just kind of how I feel, especially in this case.
Yeah, the hard part for me, I guess, that I was gonna alluding to earlier was I really kind of wanted this movie to be about the girls at the end of this and kind of see how they progressed from their point of view. And I guess I really just didn't look too much into it. But at the end of this, I was like, well, it's called King Richard, so that's that's my bad. So it's a movie clearly about him for the most part, and I feel like if you're gonna name it after him, you're basically gonna make him the main character. This could have done a lot better, I think, like I said, if they pick somebody else and maybe let them give the performance of their lifetime versus Will Smith just playing another character that Will Smith plays.
I agree, bro.
That's fair. This movie, as a tennis fan, did have a lot of stuff that I liked in it, as far as like playing tennis and kind of going through that. The reactions of opponents while she's playing in juniors was something that is actually pretty accurate. I mean, slamming the net with the racket, you're saying, "Oh, you're screaming, you're so bad," like stuff like that is so. You see that every single time you play anybody.
Gotcha.
That was very, very common, and especially that goes into the pros to an extent, but that happens a lot around the age that these girls are. And also a lot in girls' tennis. Guys' tennis is bad, but guys tennis, when you get to like a juniors kind of level, like where they're competitive, it can be bad. But girls tennis, when at this level, every single one of them is almost every single one of them is like that. And so that was pretty good portrayal there. They really go into it as far as the kind of how mentally taxing it can be and how frustrating people get. And like I said, especially at that age.
Sure.
The coaching was a little bit over the top by both of the coaches. But I think that just had to be played up. But
in what way?
It just the energy they were bringing. Maybe that's how they were trying to be those characters.
Got it.
Also the things that they were kind of coaching them on, it was never the way that my kind of coach did it. Or at least some of the things that they were saying just felt like pretty generic, like tennis terms that they were trying to throw in. But there's only so much they can do. It's a movie. I'm not going to go into that.
Fundamentals, man. Okay.
So
sure. But
let me ask you this then. So like, how do you think like the actual like scenes of them playing tennis looks like, because you've played tennis? So for example, and maybe even like Nathaniel, you can speak on this on like baseball and stuff, but like there's like scenes in certain films like where like people are playing football. And I'm just like, that looks fucking terrible. You know what I mean? So like, how does that aspect look of like the actual like sport being played on film?
So I kind of have two answers to that. The first one, to like your actual question, would be it looks fine.
Sure.
It was never I was never taken out by by how they're like, I was never like, oh, this looks terrible, like that's not actually how tennis is played or anything like that. They did it well enough where it was like, this is fairly believable. Like the only thing that took me out of it was there's a few times where I was like, well, that's an interesting shot choice to like end a point or something like that. There's one time when I think I was just watching it back when Venus is playing in her first juniors tournament. She wins a match by doing a backhand slice where I would have done a completely different shot, but that's neither here nor there. That's not really that important. But that's like overall good representation of, I would say, how tennis kind of plays.
Okay. That's all you can ask for.
Felt pretty good about that. It's tough because I wish they would have had some longer rallies. It seemed like a lot they were cutting a lot for a lot of these points, and tennis matches can take a while. There's a lot of downtime in between points sometimes. So it's kind of hard to do that kind of thing. I just would have loved a little bit more in depth of tennis match in this movie, and they're already running long on time, so I'm sure they try to cut it around as much as possible. But even that last climactic match against the world number one, like could have been stretched out a little bit of the actual tennis, and they, to me, it feels like they just kind of breezed by the last set and a half of the match when I feel like there maybe could have been a little bit more. The other answer to that question is something that I wanted to bring up, which is how they actually shoot tennis, and go about how they're going to show that. It's fine and it's good in this movie, and I like it. But in a movie like this, I want another tennis movie with on court shooting, where it's kind of high action, back and forth. Almost the kind of example I want to kind of base off of is like something like Miracle per se, where the hockey, you're on the ice with the camera. You're not watching it from like an aerial view or a broadcast view or anything like that. You got quick cuts, you got a lot of action. But you can also, the thing about it is you can also tell what's going on, and I think that's probably the hard part about doing something like that with tennis is you have to kind of show. If you want to show the quick action, get a close up on a racket hitting a ball or serve, something like that, you kind of have to let the audience know where that ball is going to go, and so they can kind of get a feel for how the match or how the point or match is playing out.
Sure.
As you get these close up shots or high action shots, and I think that's a very tough challenge to kind of overcome, is effectively showing that. Effectively showing the tennis match in a way that people can follow it, or even a tennis point to a way people can follow it, while also giving some, little bit higher action. I think that's a tough challenge, but I think there's got to be some kind of solution. And I'd really like to see another tennis movie take a crack at that, because this, to me, I was really hoping for something more with how they shot it, because it was a lot of just kind of standing back, either behind the players or from the sidelines. I mean, it's it's from his perspective too, King Richard's perspective, so it's maybe maybe this is kind of a stylistic choice there where you're watching from the sidelines a lot because so is he, and that's definitely a fair thing. But and the other thing is, as I'm saying this, I haven't seen a ton of other tennis movies, and I really wish I had more time right now. But because once I finished this, I was like, I'd love to go watch like Wimbledon, or there's another one as well that actually came out not too long ago either. But I really wanted to compare this to something, and I haven't. So I'm saying all of that, and it honestly might be out there. I really don't. I really haven't seen enough to say, and that's on me. And I just wish I had some more time, and maybe I'll report back at some point. Yeah, I was just hoping for a little bit more in that regard, but I think we'll either get it, I think we'll get it in some way, hopefully.
I'm fading fast. Let's get this on the road here.
I am too. Yeah, I think that's about it. So, if welcome back, listeners, who skipped over
I'll play the spoiler sound.
segment. What'd you say?
I just played that. We're out of spoiler sound. Sorry.
Cool. Welcome back, listeners, who skipped over the spoiler segment of the podcast. We're going to go ahead and rank King Richard up upon the Entropy list. For those of you who do not know, the Entropy list is Back Row Banter's official list of every movie we have reviewed, regardless of genre, regardless of anything else, all on one fantastic list. This is essentially how we rate our movies, rather than do it out of 5 stars, out of 10, whatever it is. We go ahead and throw up all the movies we review on one single list and see how they all compare to one another. If you'd like to reference the Entropy list for yourself, you can do so by checking the episode description, where it is linked to my Letterboxd.
Where you at, boys?
This is an interesting one.
I think so too.
How many sports movies do we have on here, if any?
I think that's the first one.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, that's actually kind of surprising.
That's kind of what I was looking for on here.
Right, like what are you gonna try to compare?
Yeah.
first?
We should get some more on here because I love a good sports movie.
Interesting.
I'm looking myself. This is tough. I have an early suggestion.
Give me your suggestion, sir.
And I don't know how y'all will feel about it, but I'm gonna toss it in at 50.
Oh, okay. I thought you were gonna say something totally different.
That was gonna be higher.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. I mean, this isn't anything super remarkable.
Yeah.
Like, it's good. I like it a lot, but it's kind of like Will Smith's performance. Good, but nothing stands out. Nothing stands out particularly. And when I look at Blind Spotting as my personal gatekeeper, every single movie above that almost I enjoy it. I would say a little bit more, and not every single one. There are some outliers there, but Blind Spotting is my gatekeeper. When I think about Ghostbusters Afterlife, that movie, I definitely enjoyed this one more than that one and had a better time with it coming away from it. So I think 50 is where I'm going to put it. I think there's a nice little gap between Blind Spotting and Ghostbusters that this could fit into.
Yeah.
I was one off. I am at 51 because I do prefer Ghostbusters over this. One of the main reasons is because length.
Okay.
Yeah, that 2:30 on this thing is long.
Yeah, that's pretty fair.
Nathaniel, what are you thinking, bro?
I had it at 61.
Really?
What the fuck?
So below Trick or Treat.
It was purely, that was just like a purely like of these movies that I would watch again, where am I coming in at this?
Right.
And like, if I woke up in a movie theater and there was Ghostbusters Afterlife, Army of the Dead, Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, Candyman, Mortal Kombat, Godzilla, Kong, forgetting Sarah Marshall for sure, the original Godzilla, Trick or Treat. If I woke up and any of those movies were playing, I could see myself staying and watching the end of that movie. If I woke up and King Richard,
getting up and walking out of
if King Richard was playing, I might think about what I'm doing for the next 2.5 hours. So
that's funny.
That's where I'm at on that one. But hearing your guys' points, I don't really have a problem with it being up there too much further. I think 61 was just kind of a personal preference there, but I can be argued higher, I think. So I'll say it's a soft 61.
Okay. To be honest, I could agree with Nathaniel. I can live with the 61. Granted, I mean, obviously we're gonna have to split the difference somewhere in this. So once we kind of jump to that, we'll see where we're at.
So
But yeah,
where's your ranking then? And because we cannot split the difference without knowing
Well,
where
we're
your
both.
official placement's going to be.
I'm gonna be
okay.
61.
You're 61,
sorry.
Nathaniel.
What was
Blake, where are
that?
you at?
Okay, sorry.
I'll go ahead and I'll go 62.
62.
Yeah.
You like Halloween Kills more than this?
Yeah. I'll
Okay.
put the,
Which you didn't love a ton.
no.
56 would be our average.
I also got 56. Math checks out. I already had it up on my phone, and then I was about to say 56, and then I got a text message, and so it just
confirmed. Myth confirmed.
56.
Can confirm.
56 it
So
is.
what is that? Below Godzilla
that is right
vs.
below
Kong?
Godzilla vs. Kong, and above the aforementioned Forgetting Sarah Marshall.
Yeah. All right, I can live with that.
Sure.
All right. What's next here? Our next review? Yeah, I think that's next. Our next topic, our next review. It's Nathaniel's pick this week. Is your birthday this week or next week?
It's gonna be December 13th, so probably
What is
day
that, Monday?
before recording. Yeah, Monday.
Okay.
Or the day we're recording, depending on when we record. But yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah.
That's TBD as of now.
We'll figure it out.
But yes, the next topic is gonna be Pig,
Big.
which was brought up about 3 weeks ago on Nathaniel's What We're Watching, about 2 weeks ago on the new to streaming list, and it'll be brought up next week as we review it. That's currently streaming on Hulu, actually, so you don't even have to rent it. It's there if you've got that Hulu service. I have the one with ads. I'm not looking forward to watching this with ads, but here we are.
I think it's just at the start, if I remember
Okay,
correctly.
good,
Like it's before the actual credits or whatever.
I
And then you just
don't
kinda
watch a ton of
the-
movies on Hulu, mainly TV shows, and the TV shows, they're in there constantly. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
movies they don't
good
break them up.
thing that the movies aren't too interrupted.
Yeah, they're not too bad.
Are we saving our harvest for another episode?
Yes, please.
Nathaniel?
I'm tired.
All right. Yeah, me too. Plugs. Oh, we have an email. It's
Save it.
It's not.
Save it.
It's quick. It's quick. It's from Brandon Wozni. It's titled X-Man.
Oh,
Ask
yes.
my brother, who's the biggest X-Men geek I know about X-Men. Or this is how this sentence reads. I
It
swear to
was,
God.
it was the riff from last week when we were talking about X-Man.
Yeah,
the X-Men,
but he
X-Man.
He writes, asked my brother, who's the biggest X-Men geek I know. Oh, I see. I don't know why I was so confused about X-Man. Okay, this is what he told me. In the Age of Apocalypse alternate timeline, Sinister made a clone baby from Jean and Cyclops. He ended up in the corrected timeline after the event ended. His whole deal was that he was Cable without without the tech virus. So there you go.
Gotcha.
That's all the email said.
Thanks, man.
Thank you for filling us in on
Shout out,
X-Man. I'm so glad I was not wrong and that there actually is a character called X-Man, because it makes me feel a little bit better about my slip-up last episode. Share the podcast, share with a friend, family member, maybe a tennis opponent that you're playing. Maybe as you shake hands at the end of the match,
Yeah.
win or lose, just be like, hey, I know this podcast. You like movies? They just
Do
reviewed this
it.
tennis one.
Do it. You won't.
Casual.
Yeah, no, honestly, that's like, do it, but like also if I even try to have a conversation with an opponent after losing a match, I might punch him in the face. Follow the show on Twitter at Banter Row, on Instagram at Back Row Banter Pod, YouTube, it's just Back Row Banter. Please, please, please go subscribe to us there, even if it is not your primary place of listening. And then our email for any questions, comments, concerns, grievances, anything of that sort is backrowbanterpod@gmail.com. BlakeHolder, where can the people
Yo.
find you at, my man?
Letterboxd. I'll be on there, BlakeHolder, logging everything. We'll see what we got going on for actual reviews that I will go ahead and jot down. But Spider-Man is obviously right around the corner. Scream is around the other corner. So
Yes,
a few
sir.
things that we may have some thoughts on. So follow me on there. That's what I've got for you guys. I'll pass it over to let's go to Nathaniel.
What up, folks? Find me on Twitter and Letterboxd at NS Gingrich, on Instagram at NathanielG92. Follow Sandpiper Tapes. Apparently, we're going to have 2 months in a bit here where we're not going to have a podcast, so I'm going to have something to do during that time. Maybe I'll write more and do more Sandpiper Tapes, but we'll see.
Potentially.
Some potential. But Tyler.
That's a interesting spot to drop that information without any context and no time to get context. Well, you know what? We'll bring it up next episode. Potential high.
Oh God, I thought that was on. I thought that was already in there.
I'm not putting that in the post pod. I wasn't planning on it. Maybe I will now.
Oh,
they don't know. They don't know what it's for. Right?
Well, no. Let me just give you a clean one then. Find me on. Just edit that whole bit out.
I'm not cutting anything. That's too much work. I don't want to edit at 12:30, cutting things together like that. Oh my God.
We're already into it here now.
Just finish your plugs.
I'm done.
All right, cool. Who you tossing it to? Did Tyler go yet? I don't even know. I'm lost. Tyler, go if you haven't.
I'll go from here. I have been streaming significantly more. I do have basically a permanent schedule up, so feel free to tune in. It is fun. I am only a couple average viewers away from being an affiliate, so pretty cool.
Hey.
Yeah. So yeah, you can do that. That's twitch.tv/El Trabajo, ELTRABAJO87, and Instagram, Letterboxd, and Twitter are all Tyler Vidalis, VIDALES. Blake
went first.
Oh, he did. Dude, wow, I'm the
sir.
worst. I thought Adam went, and then
No, I think almost every single episode except for maybe one have gone to Blake first on the
second week in a row. I did that, so.
It's all right. It happens. You can find me on Twitter at H24, on Letterboxd at H, and potentially sometime soon, hopefully, at twitch.tv/H whenever I rebuild my stream over winter break and start streaming some Halo. So stay tuned for that. Stay tuned for our episode next week, whenever that launches. It might not be exactly on Tuesday or Wednesday like it has been. There should hopefully be an episode next week. It just might not drop when you usually expect them. So just be on lookout for that. Thank you all for listening, especially if you made it this far. I appreciate you. And we'll BRB.
Be excellent to each other. We'll BRB.
Thanks for stopping by. Please like, comment, subscribe, do whatever you got to do to help us grow. We appreciate anything that you can and will do for us. And just be good to one another. We obviously had Thanksgiving. We got Christmas coming up. So cherish what you got. And we'll BRB.
Yeah, thanks for listening as always. With the holidays coming up, spend time with family. And as I always say, if you do one thing you love every day, then you're living the correct way. So we'll BRB.
America. Ready for another lesson.
But they're not. It's more on the image processing side of the computer. So the dead pixels can essentially like move basically, or they'll show up at certain areas of the display. And so whenever some images on my display would, like the video in Premiere would have artifacting on it. And I spent like an hour and a half with my roommate who knows more about Windows than I, and I would say about IT and this kind of stuff in general. And we were on the phone with his dad. He works for Microsoft. We spent an hour and a half troubleshooting. Couldn't figure it out. I said, I got to start editing. Like, I don't have time to keep trying to figure out what it is. Issues, and then finish, my short film at like 12:30 last night. Submit it. I'm like, you know what? F it. It is what it is. I didn't do everything that I needed to, but or everything I wanted to with it, but I would have required like another day and another like 4 hours of editing. So I was like, whatever, submit it. It is what it is. Close everything on my computer, turn it off, which was very satisfying because I'd just been on it so much the past few days. Turn it on today, gone. The artifacting is gone. My computer has fixed itself somehow. I'm thankful, but I'm also like pissed off. Like I don't know what I just don't know what happens in my computer where I have all of these issues, because I just had an issue like a month ago with my USBs that my computer wouldn't read any of them, but then that fixed itself. It's just amazing. I don't know. It's been a stressful experience with this PC the past 4 days.
If you want to hear some stuff that's more amazing, I had you muted up until the point you were talking about talking to Microsoft. So there'll be about 2.5 minutes of dead air there.
That's tragic, because I was going to use that for the post-pod.
I know. I realized it now. So, not everything has been your PC's fault. Some of it's just regular old me, just screwing
Human
things
error
up
is
there.
always there.
Always an option.
Yeah.
I was getting feedback while I was listening to the Spider-Man Across the Universe trailer.
Cool. Well, listeners, I hope you enjoyed the end of that story. The gist was I spent 20 hours editing, had PC issues the whole time, and then right when I'm done editing, I turn on my PC and the issues are gone right when I'm done editing. That's essentially
Was
how
it
goes.
video editing? Is that what you were saying?
Yeah, I had to make a short film for class, so I spent about 20 hours basically fixing the audio, because I had a bunch of audio issues with my microphone.
Yeah.
So I spent a long time editing and fixing audio over the weekend.
Shooting videos, not easy.
All while having technical issues with my computer. It was very stressful. That was the gist, listeners. Now you know.
Yeah.
Our new segment,
There you have it.
That was the gist, where we fill you in
The gist.
on the stories we missed out on because of human error or technical difficulties. Happens more often than you would think.
Remember that one time we spent like 45 minutes trying to figure out why Discord wouldn't work, and it was just because Nathaniel needed to restart the mixer?
That makes it sound like I needed to do that and I was missing it. We tried everything to troubleshoot it besides turning on and off the mixer.
Just the thing that was so funny to me is that I just assumed that like that was
the first thing you did.
Already tried.
Yeah, and it was
just turning it on and off.
It was just one of those things where I was just being arrogant and just thought, no way could it possibly be that simple of just turning it off and back on again. And hubris. The thing about hubris just makes you fall every time. So when you listen, do your troubleshoots first. Always turn it off and back on again. And life will be an easier and happier place.
That's how I'm gonna outro from now on. Where you guys have like you be nice to each other or whatever. Everyone love everybody. That's gonna be like, do your troubleshooting and the world would be a better place.
Turn it off and back on again.
If you troubleshoot, they will come.
Okay.
Hello, IT.